What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to FudgeMuppet. My name is Scott, and today I have for you the sniper build for the Outer Worlds. Everyone loves a good old sniper build, and I think this should also satisfy your assassin thief kind of fantasy. The idea here is to have your opponents not even see you coming. Like a flash of lightning, enemy heads will explode in an instant as they try to look at each other to work out what the hell is going on. But by the time the remaining marauders get an understanding of the situation, it's already too late. This sniper is complete with an eye patch and all to give her that menacing assassin look. She has no compunctions about killing, and her main aim is to make a living doing what she does best, shooting heads from afar. So working for the board as their professional special agent / assassin looks to be a likely occupational pursuit, but we will expand on that in the role-playing section. First, we have to understand how to build this character, so let's get to it. The building blocks of any character in the Outer Worlds is their attributes. You can respec skills and perks, but the thing you can never change are those attribute decisions you make. So, I'm going to go through the list of attributes and explain all of my rationale for their rankings. First, we have strength, which I decided to make below average because it's simply something we don't need. Carry capacity will suffer, but this can be countered by armor mods and perks even if you wish. And the time dilation movement penalty also doesn't affect us because we are a sniper from afar who will be setting up first, getting a good view of the situation, then taking multiple shots without moving. None of the strength boosted skills matter either for this build, and guess what? We aren't using melee weapons, so melee damage isn't needed. Next up, we have dexterity, which we have set at a ranking of very high. Now, the attribute benefit itself for this build is faster reload speed, but to be honest, that is just a little bonus side effect. The main reason for placing this stat at very high is so that we can get the skill boosts. Next, we have the mind attributes, perception and intelligence. Now, intelligence is at very high, and this comes with the necessary bonus to critical damage, as well as supporting a bunch of our skills with boosts. We really want max possible critical damage to pair well with our eventual 100 long gun skill, increasing our critical chance. More crits means more damage, and more crit damage means more kills, especially paired with sneak damage. Perception is also at very high for those boosts to a bunch of skills we use, and the bonus to headshot and weak spot damage, which is going to stack really well with the scanner perk that we will get later, but also in general, it facilitates the style of play that pot shots from afar, planning those headshot kills and weak spot hits, leading to maximal damage. If you haven't already noticed, this build really cares about maximal damage. We want that one-shot kill wherever possible, which I think is fairly typical for a sniper kind of character. So in order to have dexterity, intelligence, and perception at very high, we've had to make some sacrifices. You already know about the below-average strength. Well, for personality stats, we've also had to take a dive. Both charm and temperament are ranked at below average, giving us some drawbacks, but they are well worth it. Namely, we will gain less positive reputation and gain more negative reputation for our actions. Our companion ability refresh will be abysmal, but so is our inspiration skill, which we don't invest in at all, so it doesn't even matter because we won't have access to companion abilities. But don't worry at all because you just won't need them. Now, with below average temperament, we have 0 passive health regeneration. Now, of course, this may be a little trickier early on, but in the long run, especially after we achieve the Harvester perk, we forget that health regeneration was even a thing. We do invest in tech skills enough to bump up our medical, which can help, but also remember that this style of character has us shooting from afar and sneaking, so we can usually thin down numbers substantially before they notice us, and then it shouldn't be too hard. But now let's talk about starting skill choices, and you'll be able to see the benefits of our polarized stat choices. Our starting skill group choices are ranged, increasing our long guns, and even handguns to a skill of 40, and then we pick stealth, which increases our lockpick to 40 and brings our hacking and sneak to 25. These strong starting skills allow us to spread a little investment into tech earlier on, and also gives us a strong damage head start out the gate. The great lockpicking skill will also give us access to pretty much anywhere we need in the first area, getting us more loot and more bits, as well as allowing us to sneak into anywhere we want. And I did mention this character should fulfill the assassin thief vibe, and I mean it. Steal things. You can make a buttload of money by just stealing. Sneak into all the shops, take all their stuff, and sell it back to them. We'll get into perks and progression soon, but let's finish the rest of character creation. As for aptitude, I picked Dirt Farmer, which comes with the benefit of N-ray damage resistance. Honestly, like I've mentioned before, the aptitudes are really insignificant and really should only be considered for role-playing benefits. As for appearance, I chose a female with dark hair, and she gets an eye patch later on, so she sort of has the vibe of an assassin from an old James Bond-esque spy movie, but you can make changes if you like. Now, on to skill progression. Time for skills, perks, and flaws, but we want to give you a bit of a guide first through skill progression because you now know how to create the character. Let's discuss how to level up the character. So you may already know that priority skills for this character are definitely sneak and long guns. However, there are a lot of advantages to rounding out the character early on because early on in some other skills, there is a lot of benefit for little investment. For example, when we get to the unreliable ship after the small tutorial, we will get to level 2. Now here, I would recommend taking our tech skills, all of which sit at 15, to skill level 20 with a 5-point investment. This will give us benefits such as the ability to tinker and upgrade weapons, unlock an additional slot for our inhaler, and also allow us to repair our gear on the fly. For level 2, I'd honestly recommend getting the toughness perk, increasing our base health by 50%, and this helps counteract the fact we won't have passive health regen to a degree. As for the other 5 points, I would recommend buffing our stealth skills a little more, bringing sneak and hacking to 30 and bringing lockpicking to 45. Now remember, at this point we basically only have a pistol and maybe an assault rifle, so we will be making do with these weapons for now until we get our hands on a hunting rifle, and the easiest guaranteed spot for this is during the Fistful of Digits bounty quest off the corpse of the sniper dude. So for this reason, I like to improve our sneak a little more first before we dive in on long guns because we are still using pistols and other weapons around now. So level 3, I would invest all in on stealth, which will bring lockpicking to 50 and then sneak and hacking to 40, which will additionally unlock their respective abilities, further bolstering the skills. Come level 4, we'll want to invest all in on ranged, bringing handguns and long guns to 50, but by this level you should have your hands on a hunting rifle and you should be able to start getting in the groove of the playstyle of sneaking and sniping. Level 5, invest in long guns, bringing it to 60, which unlocks the ability to increase our headshot and weak spot damage by 20% with our hunting rifle. Now that we have the skill level 60 ability, we actually lay off long guns and hone in on the sneak skill for a while. So for level 6, we want to invest in stealth, bringing sneak and hacking to 50, and then for level 7, we want to invest into sneak, bringing it to 60, unlocking the ability. So you should leave the Emerald Vale about now, having completed all the quests, and you should be in an awesome position to begin the rest of your adventure in Halcyon as a sniper assassin. Now for the next 4 levels, that is until level 11, I would prioritize getting to sneak 100 for the reasons that A, it makes all your stealth easier and keeps you hidden for longer as a long distance sniper, and B, because at 80 you get a flat 20% bonus to all sneak damage, and at level 100, sneak attacks always ignore 50% of the target's armor. The longer you can go without being noticed, the more ridiculous damage you can unleash, so that's why I prioritize sneak first. Naturally, the next course of action would be maxing out long guns, which can be done by level 15, granting you another great level 100 ability, which makes critical hits ignore 100% of armor, and considering our critical hit damage is boosted by the intelligence very high stat, this will be deadly. But now you're at level 15 with sneak and long guns maxed. The priority skills are done. What now? Well, I think there is great benefit to enhancing the tech skills twice more, getting them to a level of 40, unlocking the next abilities. Now, the medical and engineering benefits are nice, but the main skill here is science. At level 40, it allows you to tinker for 50% less bits. And by now, you're at the stage where you're getting a hold of some great gear, and you should have your hands on a lot of bits, and with all the stealing and looting and questing, so it's time to put them to use. So by level 17, say, with a science of 40, you'll be able to tinker for far less. However, I don't necessarily recommend taking science to 100 for the 90% reduction in cost. I would rather focus in on the stealthy elements of this playstyle. Now, for a while, lockpicking and hacking should have been slightly higher because of companion boosts, but I would now recommend leveling these up. So maybe level 18, bring lockpicking to 60, then hacking to 60 at 19, and then you can sort of alternate between boosting those. But in my personal experience, I find that lockpicking comes in handy far more than hacking does, and even when hacking is needed, it's often something like 55 or 60, or it's 100. But still, these would be my next focuses. I think now you should have a pretty good idea of where to take the sniper as you develop the build. But let's now talk about perk choices. So I did mention previously that I think toughness is a good perk choice at level 2, just to help mitigate the loss of health regen and the fact you don't have mega high sneak straight off the bat. The time dilation, meter max, and recharge rate perks are useful additions which I would prioritize, and also the high maintenance perk is useful. I didn't have much else to spend perk points on, so I also got the movement perks and carry weight perks for convenience. But that's tier 1. Tier 2 gets more interesting. The two absolute priority perks for this build are Harvester and Scanner. Scanner increases headshot and weak spot damage by 20% when using time dilation, and this stacks really well with our sneak abilities and our long gun abilities, as well as our high perception. And when you pair this with time dilation perks of tier 1, you have a situation where you can shoot your first shot in combat, preferably a one-hit kill headshot, then activate time dilation immediately to quickly zip your sights from head to head, picking off enemies before they can realize what's up. It's a fantastic perk. Now, I mentioned earlier we don't have health regeneration because of low temperament, but that does not matter in the slightest anymore with the Harvester perk, which returns 15% of our health per kill. So let's say you only have half health left, and you're sneaking, and when you headshot 3 enemies in an opening flurry, as our character usually does, well, you've just returned 45% of your total health back. See what I mean? This perk is amazing for any high damage focused character. You'll find that Harvester, combined with the fact we are a long distance sneak character, will make it so we never have to worry about healing again. In any oh shit scenarios, you can just pump one of your many adreno found from looting and chronic stealing. For tier 3 of perks, as for pretty much all characters, I recommend getting a hold of Armor Master, which increases armor skill bonuses by 100%, always a nice boost, and also the Confidence perk gives you a guaranteed critical hit after every kill, which helps us get crit after headshot kill after headshot kill. It's a very valuable perk. As for flaws, I wouldn't really recommend getting any, but perhaps the Plasma, Physical, Shock, and Corrosive Weakness would be fine considering you usually aren't exposed to damage, but for this build, I found that I was often trying to find places to spend the perk points I had rather than being in need of more. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is the sniper character built, leveled, and perked up. Now it's time to discuss all the icing on this beautiful cake, starting with companion choices and strategies. Interestingly, I chose Nyoka and Parvati. Now, of course, companions aren't vital to the playstyle. I think this kind of character would work really well solo, and in that case, I'd say invest in the Lone Wolf perk as well as the tier 3 perk that boosts stealth solo. However, the reason I chose companions is because I find them more enjoyable for role-playing and also for their skill boosts. For example, Parvati boosts our lockpicking skill, helping us gain access to places, and Nyoka boosts our stealth, allowing us to take it beyond 100 and receiving even higher buffs because of it. The other thing about companions for this character is that they are beneficial in combat because they distract, and with all the companions I would pick the companion perks that increase threat generation by 30%, meaning that enemies will preferentially attack your companions while you can headshot from the sidelines. I equipped Nyoka with the MSI unique armor and Parvati with the unique iconoclast armor. I set them both up with a powerful light machine gun, and whenever I break stealth, usually after successfully taking out a few enemies, they charge in with machine guns, distracting my opponents while I pick them off. It just works out to be a nice strategy, so that's why we have companions for this build. But enough about companions and their gear, let's start talking about the stuff we use. The main weapon of the sniper is, as you can imagine, a sniper rifle, more specifically the hunting rifle. A secondary option and alternative is the Deadeye assault rifle, but honestly, I found that the hunting rifle delivered more straight up damage, and when combined with all the critical damage and weak spot headshot damage boosts, it ended up with more one-shot kills, so ultimately I aimed to get the hunting rifle ultra, modding it with the Fun Times barrel for a further 25% crit damage boost, as well as giving it plasma damage, because I just find that to be the most effective against most enemies. I did at one point have the super scope, but it turns out to be excessive, because most of the Outer Worlds is played in close to medium range. So the standard extendo sight that most hunting rifles have by default worked out to be much better. Now for the armor, you can pretty much use any that increases stealth skills, but for both aesthetic of the character and the skill bonus, I chose the anti-riot gear. Now I want to be clear that this does not mean she's necessarily affiliated with the iconoclasts, it just looks cool. Plus, it has a bonus of 7 to long guns, which becomes plus 14 with Armor Master. Now, I recommend modding this to increase armor rating, but the main important mods here, I think, are the Hunter Kit, which increases ranged skills further, meaning more long guns, meaning more crit chance, meaning more damage, and also the Nightingale Step, which improves our stealth by reducing volume of footstep sounds and radius of sounds by 25%. Now, the coolest part about this character's aesthetic aesthetic, in my opinion, is the eye patch, and this is the unique version called Hemlock's eye patch, which can be found during a side mission for Zora after helping the iconoclasts with the printing press. So at least help them out until that point before you potentially antagonize them. Hemlock's eye patch increases sneak attack damage by 10%, which helps the character's playstyle and badass look. But there you go, that pretty much covers the sniper build functionally. How she looks, who she's with, what skills to get, what perks to get, how to level, what weapons to use, all this has been covered in previous sections. So what does that leave with us to discuss? Of course, the role-playing and backstory, a favourite of FudgeMuppet builds. So for this character, as with anyone else, it begins at birth. The sniper was born at the very bottom of the food chain, born to 2 dirt farmers. She was forced to take up her family trade. Her days looked like this. Wake up at 4 a.m, grueling labor work for 6 hours. 10 a.m, eat a synthetic porridge slop. 10:30 a.m, work for 6 more hours. Eat a synthetic porridge slop. 4:30 p.m, spend 3 hours hunting feral mutant pigs and factory-born mutant pests with a rifle, as well as setting traps for the night. Return to the homestead around 8 p.m, eat more synthetic porridge slop. 8:30 p.m, cram an hour of reading, whatever she had access to or could afford. Eat a small bowl of stewed apples, sleep for 6 hours, and repeat for days upon days, months upon months, years upon years, ever since the age of 12. However, that 1 hour of reading every day gave her a wealth of knowledge far beyond her family and friends would attain, and that was her hidden advantage, her way out of this hellhole. At the age of 24, she had finally scraped together enough bits to run away and try and escape. She liked her family, but she knew damn well her life would go nowhere, and that she would be entrapped by her indentured employment contract for eternity if she did not make her move now. So while out hunting one night, she bailed. She left, she fled to the nearest city, and threw all the bits she had at a way off this godforsaken planet. She used all the knowledge and skills she had acquired from years of reading to avoid the corporate soldiers sent to collect on her unfulfilled contract, but she could only keep this up for so long. She made connections in the underground of the city, finding her way to black market contacts who could forge her a new identity, but this came at the cost of pretty much all the bits she had, and more. In order to get a new identity, along with the forged Halcyon colony application, she had to perform jobs for these criminal types, jobs that involved killing, stealing, and maiming. She found herself doing horrible deeds, but she was desperate to get away from Earth, away from her past, away from the corporate soldiers after her, so she did whatever she had to until she could afford this new identity. And 8 months later, she did it. The sniper had a new name, Sahara Welsh, a colonist bound for the Halcyon colony aboard the Hope. 70 years later, she is awoken by Phineas. She got what she wanted. So now we pick up the sniper's story in Halcyon, and if you haven't already surmised, the sniper looks out for herself and herself only. She will use allies and factions as long as there is mutual benefit, but don't be surprised that if in the end she screws them all over to set herself up in luxury and security, all the things she never had but craves so badly. This is why for this character I see her joining the board, making herself useful so she can enjoy a life of wealth and calm. But to attain these goals, she may use multiple factions, helping many in self-interest. For example, on Monarch, I chose to help both the Iconoclasts and MSI to get all the rewards possible, but I also stole as much as I could from both, sneaking everywhere and lockpicking any closed door or container. But also consider that she has a lot of familiarity with black market criminal types, so Sublight will be another faction she'll benefit from working with. And where she can get away with screwing the board for personal gain, she will, but ultimately, she'll not want to compromise her position with them. Remember, a key role-playing element is steal stuff. This sniper character is an assassin, thief, thug, whatever she has to be in order to get what she wants. To sum the sniper character up nicely, I'd say her main role-playing characteristic is moral flexibility. Her moral code is whatever gets her to wherever she wants to be. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the sniper build. The assassin, thief, long-range, lethal killer, all wrapped in one tightly packed experience. I hope you enjoyed the build, and please do give the video a like if you did. Thanks so much for watching this video. Timestamps can be found in the description for you to refer back to any section of the build. My name is Scott from FudgeMuppet. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back to nerd out with you again next time.